Welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to talk about loading the information that we have right here in the books.dat and loading it right into our program. So how do we do that, and what are we even accomplishing here? When we run the application, we see that we have this empty thing right here. I don't want that. I want this fill. I want this filled with the books that I have. Same with the find tab. Same with all the books that I have right here. I want them to be totally loaded. How do we do that? Well, first let's load issued books table right here, and it's pretty easy basically. We use table widget here, and so before we do that, let's define a function here that does it for us. Let's create a function. You can use this minus button to collapse or just make the function smaller, collapse them into smaller size, and that's what we're going to do to make things very clean. Let's call it load issued table because it's loading a table, right? And of course self is always passed. It's a class function. First we load all the books. As you can see, we imported this lib, all our functions, and in our functions we have this function called load books. So we're gonna load books, but that's gonna load all the books, isn't it? Because if I load this, I get all the books, not the issued books only, right? Here we have some are issued and some are not issued. For some reason we don't have them here because we didn't add a non-issued book. So what do we do? Well, we're gonna create a function that gives us only those books which are issued, and it's pretty easy to make. Well, you can call a function get issued books, and you can pretty much, let me tell you what you can do. You can just use this thing right here, and let me tell you why. Not exactly this thing, but you are filtering based on that. I only want the books. Let me set the parameter here differently. You also want to pass on the books here, or you can load them directly here, which will make the function simpler. So let's say I load all of my books, right? Load books. Now I have all the books that I have in my books.dat file, right? Now what do I want to do? I want to filter all the books. Remember, all the books that are, well, issued. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's pass in the books in the second argument, and now just pass in the condition. The condition is that the ID, the book here is the book's ID here. In fact, is, or rather, how would you rather call it? The book that we have, what I want is that its ID should be equal to its, rather, issued should be equal to true, and that's all there is to it. And we can return this list. I believe that is the case. You're taking this book one by one and you're saying if it's issued is equal to true, I want to return it, I want to keep it, and you'll see that this will work just fine. And similarly, we can get all unissued books when it is equal to false. So let's see if it actually works. And to see that happen, let's, instead of calling all the books using the load books function, we have to call get issued books, and let's print them and see if they actually work or not. To prove my theory, I'm gonna add a new book here which is not issued, just random. As you can see here, false, 4 books. And when the program starts, what I want to do, I want to, where am I? Yeah, when the program starts, I want to call this function called load issued table. Let's see if it actually works. Get issued books is missing an argument here. We don't have to pass in the self here. We're not in a class. Again, these programming mistakes happen normally. It's not a big deal. And you can see that there are 3 books, not 4. 3 books here instead of 4, because only 3 books have true. The last one has false here, not true. Now what do I do next? Well, I have all the books. So what can I actually do here when I have all the issued books and non-issued books? Well, I have to use the table widget, and I have the table. As a matter of fact, if I open my PyQt designer, I can see that this is my table widget. My table widget has everything. My table widget is called issued books table, so I'm going to use that. Issued books, well, table. And I'm going to set a row count here. And why I set a row count here? The row count is telling me how many rows I have, how many entries do I have. And it's good to set it early. So just length of all the books that I have here. Now I have set the row count here, and if I run this again, you will see something. You should see 1, 2, 3. Now I want to fill this up. How do I do that? Pretty easy stuff. First of all, of course, I have to loop through everything, right? So I'm going to loop through. Let me write this and then I'll tell you. What is this doing? I told you the importance of enumerate when you're enumerating through a non-number list. You gotta make sure that you get its index. The index of a list you'll only be able to get it if you use this enumerate method. Just remember that. And index and book is here from the book as you're using a for loop. What else do we do here? Well, I have a book here, and you know already that to loop through a dictionary, to get every value of a dictionary, what do we need to do? Well, we need to use a for loop again. So now this time I want another thing. I want a book index as well, and you'll know in a minute why I said that. And an attribute, of course. And again, I have to enumerate my book. This time the book. Remember that. And I'm enumerating my book. Well, self.issued table. Issued books table, excuse me. And I want to set item. This set item will actually set the thing. It'll set the item, it'll change its values. And how do we do that? First thing we provide is the index. And it's better to learn it intuitively. This index, the first value, is telling you which row to go. First, second, or third. Then, I want to give you the row, or the column rather. And that is the book index. The book index is the column. This thing right here, 0, 1, 2, like that. Now what? Now what is the thing that you're setting? And you cannot just set a string here like, oh, if name is atomic habits, I can just put atomic habits here. No, you have to put in a Q table widget item. So Q table widget item. I'm going to create one, and I'm going to add it here in form of a string. I'm going to add the book that I just had, and I'm going to take the attribute, and I'm just going to put it here. That's it. And that's about it. Well, if I can basically run this, and this maybe will give me an error. I don't think so. It shouldn't give me an error. It's saying the book object is not iterable, and it's actually right in that sense, because this book is not, let me show you what I'm trying to say. This book is this class version of it. Remember, this book is not a dictionary version. This for loop can't go through it doesn't know what it is. You have to give the dictionary that it can easily loop through, and that's what I'm doing here. Now if you do it again, this will work just fine, and it'll give you all the values that you need here. Now one more thing is this changing value thing. You can change it very easily by doing stuff here. Let me show you how. issued books table. You go there and set the item, get the item, you have an index and book index. I mean, you're getting an item, right? The item, which item do I get? This is how I get. This is row, this is column. And then I set some flags here. And this is saying q.item is selectable. Bytewise or qd.item is enabled. This won't be able to let me edit it. And why does that happen? This bitwise or is telling you that these both things can happen. Just think of it that way. Just think of it like a or, but bitwise or means that in Qt5 when you're using a bitwise or, what it's telling you to do is that I can make multiple selections. I have different flags which are telling me how to control the table. Item is enabled means that item is enabled. Item is selectable means that item is selectable. That's it. There's no other flag. Everything else is disabled. It is not editable. That's the whole point. If you don't set the flags, they all will be enabled. That's the main point of it. Now I can select anything. Now I can say, well, select this, select this, select this. If I select one row, one column, one entry, I will be able to edit this. Because now I've selected, I can edit. I have selected, I can delete it. I've selected, I can only perform these two operations. Well, now it's time to do the same thing for unissued books and all books. So let's do that. We're just going to copy the function, in fact. I'm going to paste it and we're going to rename it. Load unissued books. And remember, there is one more thing here, of course. We're getting unissued books here, yes, but what is the name of the table? Go to your Qt designer, see it's unissued books table. Elegantly put. We just have to add an UN here to edit multiple lines in VS Code. What you do, you press Alt, and go to place your cursor wherever you want to change it. Type unissued, and the job is done. If I have to call the function upon the startup, so I have to load unissued books as well. Unissued, and that's about it. Let's run this and see what happens. As you can see, there is one unissued book and there is one issued book. Well, pretty cool. I want to have all of my books here as well. I want to have them show up. Well, we'll write another function. For this one, we don't need much, but we'll say load all books table. That's about it. How do we load all books table? Well, you just call the load books method. It'll give you all the books, and that's about it. That's all you have to do. But one more catch here is what is the table name? Remember, and the table here object name is all books table. That's it. You can press Ctrl D to select the next matching name. So all books table. I press that and it happens. Ctrl D. Now I can run this and, well, I didn't call the function, so let me do that here. Self dot, and that's about it. Let's run this and you will see the magic. As you can see, all books are loaded. All the books are loaded. I can refresh it and I can see how many books do I have. Well, that's about it. That's about it for issued books, unissued books, and all books here. And you can do all sorts of things here with the table view. It's pretty cool. And the next thing in the next lecture, what we're gonna do, we're gonna edit this. When we press edit, we want to show up just like this thing right here. We want to show up, and when we delete this, we want it to delete and refresh the page. And when we edit it, after that, we want to press refresh and have these things change. So there's just these three functionalities left, and of course all of these functionalities will be the same for unissued books. And when we want to find, you just search, press the button, you get all the books, and all books are already there. There's just this refresh button that refreshes all the things. So that's about it. Now I'll see you in the next lecture where we'll talk about the edit function, and so I'll see you in the next one.